Hi there, and welcome to this very first Life in a Stroke video. I'm Steve Podmore, and I'm excited to embark on this incredible journey with you. Well, first, let's briefly dive into the lives of extraordinary individuals who share one thing in common. They've all suffered from strokes. Winston Churchill, Emilia Clarke, Andrew Marr, Princess Grace of Monaco, Luke Perry, and Sharon Stone. Well, can you believe that even these iconic personalities face strokes in their lives? Well, fame and success can't shield anyone from life's challenges, and strokes and other acquired brain injuries are a lot more common than one might think. Well, the odd one amongst them is Winston Churchill, who had his first stroke in 1949 at the age of 75. Having at least 5 more, Churchill was to pass away 15 years later at age 90. Why the stresses of war and his incredible life most likely contributed to the causes of his strokes, stroke medicine and care has come a long way in the last 75 plus years. The rest of those mentioned, they were all young stroke victims. While strokes can affect people at all ages, approximately 15% of all victims are classed as young. Remarkably, young is defined as being under the age of 65, with so many of these young victims potentially having the larger part of their lives ahead of them. They often have very different and ongoing rehabilitation needs to those who are older. And worryingly, the numbers of young stroke victims is on the rise. Stroke, though, at any age can dramatically affect the lives of not just the victims, but the friends, family, and the broader community too. This journey is deeply personal to me. My mother's recent stroke just 11 weeks ago, at age 84, has opened my eyes to the challenges faced by stroke survivors and their families. And further, it's highlighted both the amazing care that can be provided and where funding and other challenges can get in the way of holistic and the patient-centric care that survivors are just crying out for. But it's not just about my family's experiences. It's about every survivor and caregiver that's out there. Well, back then to the list. Tragically, Princess Grace and Luke Perry both lost their lives as a direct result of their strokes. It's a stark reminder of how serious strokes can be. But don't worry, it's not all bleak. The many stories of survival and recovery are truly inspiring. Take Emilia Clarke, for example. Well, she faced 2 aneurysms with the first life-saving treatment when she was just aged 24. This was after season 1 wrap of Game of Thrones, where she had a lead role as Daenerys Targaryen. Well, Emilia bravely fought through the challenges and pain of recovery and is one of the few to emerge with no outward signs of her stroke. Also showing us what true determination is all about, Sharon Stone, the American actress, and Andrew Marr, the British journalist, at 41 and 52 respectively, both had strokes and both endured long recovery periods. Well, ultimately, they were to rebuild their lives to return to work, and despite enduring challenges, they were both able to adjust to life post-stroke and thrive. According to the World Health Organization, over 15 million people suffer strokes each year. Shockingly, around 5 million die and another 5 million are left permanently disabled. Well, these numbers are staggering, and they are much, much higher when acquired brain injury is included too. Well, pardon the pun, but it's time to address the many stroke and acquired brain injury issues head on. A key aim of Life in a Stroke is to talk about what we can do to minimize the chances of having a stroke or rather acquired brain injury. Now, acquired brain injuries are those acquired after birth, and they are not hereditary, congenital, or degenerative. They include strokes, but also include trauma from a fall or car accident, tumors, infections, lack of oxygen, or toxic exposure. We'll explore what can be done to ensure the best medical care and rehabilitation for all stroke and brain injury patients, both immediately and in the long term. Well, despite some shortcomings, which we aim to discuss honestly and productively, in comparison to many countries, we have incredible stroke and brain injury care under the NHS in the UK. But this is a global issue. So importantly, we'll also talk about how better stroke and brain injury diagnosis, care and rehab can be achieved worldwide. As we move forward, I promise you we won't just focus on the problems, but we'll actively seek solutions. We'll engage with survivors and their loved ones, healthcare professionals, policymakers, and the innovative organisations who are working to create real change. We want to make sure that everyone affected by strokes and other acquired brain injuries are able to receive the best care and support possible. And that includes the families of those who survive and also those who sadly pass away. To do that, it's critically important that all those who are involved in stroke, who spend their life in a stroke in one way or another, are brought into the conversation. So we aim to interview and talk to the doctors, nurses, healthcare assistants, physiotherapists, nutritionists, occupational therapists, and also the speech and language therapists who are in such short supply. Well, at least they are at the Haywood Community Hospital in Staffordshire, where my mother is currently receiving amazing care. That is despite those aforementioned funding shortfalls and challenges which can occur in organisations like the NHS. Well, we'll discuss these issues and many more another time. So why am I doing this? In the last 12 months, the lives of my family and myself were upended twice. The first in June 22 was when my younger brother Michael passed away with a long-standing heart problem. Then on May 13th this year, life changed again in a stroke. Well, my mother was admitted with a serious stroke to the Royal Stoke University Hospital near Newcastle in Staffordshire. Well, fortunately, it's one of the leading acute stroke wards in the UK. While touch and go, Mum pulled through the most difficult initial period, and while she had numerous health ups and downs along the way, infections and all manner of challenges, 3 weeks later she was transferred to the nearby Haywood Community Hospital for rehabilitation. She had been paralysed down the right side for the initial 7 to 10 days, but then gradually the use of her right leg came back, although her right arm and hand have been badly affected. In this past 11 weeks, both with my mother and with the many other patients and their families I've encountered, I've seen incredible care. I've seen incredible compassion. But I've also seen, let's just say, things that needlessly can put patient development into reverse. But the truth is, what I learned is that so often, against terrific odds, a great many people, professionals, dedicate their lives to preventing strokes and to treating stroke and brain injury patients. They frequently go above and beyond in supporting survivors and their families in their short, and as I understand, often their long-term recovery journeys. Well, my goal through launching Life in a Stroke is to help them, to raise funds where necessary, and to examine the good and the truly insane policies and procedures that can get in their way. Well, in short, I want to help move things forward in every way possible. Well, speaking of making a difference, remember Emilia Clarkes? Well, alongside her formidable mother, Jenny, a former senior global technology executive, she turned her traumatic experience into a force for good by founding SameYou.org. Well, this charity works tirelessly to raise awareness and funds for stroke and brain injury innovation to help survivors around the world. If you want to learn about what they're doing and support this noble cause, check them out at SameYou.org. They do have some incredible programs, including Enroll, a pioneering online group mentoring and rehab program, which was created in conjunction with UCL, that's University College London, during COVID. And don't forget their YouTube channel, which has plenty of valuable content, which is well worth a look. Well, links are below in the description. Well, before we go, let me leave you with two powerful quotes from Daenerys Targaryen, played by Emilia Clarke in Game of Thrones. I will answer injustice with justice, and one voice may speak you false, but in many there is always truth to be found. Okay, so if you've seen the shows, these quotes are not completely in context and they're not maybe appropriate as well. However, in the spirit of brave adventure, let's come together to uncover the truths about stroke in order to bring justice and compassion to stroke survivors and their families everywhere. Well, thank you for joining me in this first Life of a Stroke video. If you like this content and want to stay updated, please hit the like and the subscribe buttons. And don't forget to follow Life in a Stroke on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or visit our website, lifeinastroke.com, to read the blog. Finally, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me of your stroke journey, and feel free to recommend someone you think should be featured on the channel, maybe even yourself. Or simply fill out the form on the website or contact us through your preferred method. And thank you for being part of this incredible journey. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories and discussions on life in a stroke. Remember, change starts with us. Let's create a world where stroke survivors and brain injury survivors can thrive. Oh, and one more thing. If you're curious of how my mother is doing, she's a fighter, and considering her age and the severity of her stroke, 11 weeks in, and she is progressing well. There is a lot of uncertainty in the future, but one thing is for certain, I now have a lot more understanding and empathy for everyone whose life changes in a stroke. Thanks again for watching.